Captain Lisa Wright rubbed her tired eyes as she looked at the screen in front of her. The small room was dark except for the blue glow from the computer. On the screen, strange patterns showed up as lines and dots. These were not just random shapes. They told a scary story. "Captain, you need to see this," said Alan Murphy. He was the ship's expert on alien ruins. His voice was shaking a little. Lisa turned to face him. "What am I looking at, Alan?" "Death, Captain. The death of an entire world." Alan pointed to a series of peaks on the graph. "These are from the planet we just scanned. And these," he pulled up another image, "are from the last 17 planets we've studied." Lisa stared at the two images. They matched almost perfectly. "This can't be a coincidence," she said quietly. The door to the small room slid open. Olivia Jones walked in, holding a tablet. She was in charge of listening for signals from space. "Captain, I found something in those old transmissions," she said. "It took our computers all night to translate them." Lisa took the tablet. The message was short but clear. "They come from the dark. They take all. None fight and live." "There are more," Olivia said. "Hundreds more. All saying the same thing in different words. Some are thousands of years old." Alan stood up and started pacing. "Do you understand what this means? Every civilization that reaches a certain point gets wiped out. And it happens on a schedule. Every 8,000 years. Lisa felt a chill run down her back. "And where are we on this schedule?" Alan stopped, pacing. His face was pale. "That's the problem, Captain. According to my calculations, it's about to happen again, and Earth is in the target zone." The three of them stood in silence for a moment. The only sound was the quiet hum of the ship's engines. "We need to tell Earth," Lisa said finally. "We need to warn them." 2 hours later, the entire crew of the ship Athena gathered in the main hall. Lisa stood at the front facing 20 worried faces. "By now, you've all heard the rumors," she began. "I'm here to tell you they're true. We have found evidence of a cycle of extinction that has been going on for millions of years." The room stayed quiet, too quiet. "Dr. Murphy will explain what we know," Lisa said, stepping aside. Alan walked to the front. He touched a button on his wrist, and a large image appeared on the wall. It showed a map of the galaxy with several points marked in red. "Each of these marks as a dead civilization," he said. "Each one reached about the same level of technology as Earth. Each one was destroyed completely." He touched another button. More red dots appeared. "These are the ones we've confirmed so far. There are likely many more." A young crew member raised her hand. "But who's doing this? And why?" Alan looked at Olivia, who stepped forward. "We don't know who they are," she said. "But the messages we've decoded call them the Harvesters. They come from deep space, wipe out all advanced life, and then disappear again." "And no one fights back?" someone asked. "They try," Olivia said. "They all try, they all fail." Lisa stepped forward again. "There's something else you should know. We've found evidence that other space-traveling races know about this. They watch it happen and do nothing." Angry voices filled the room. Why wouldn't they warn us? How could they just watch? Lisa held up her hands for quiet. "Fear, most likely. Fear of being next." The ship's doctor, Ben Harris, spoke up. "So what do we do, Captain?" "We go home," Lisa said firmly. "We warn Earth. We have 18 months before the Harvesters arrive, based on Dr. Murphy's calculations. That gives us time to prepare." As the meeting broke up, Lisa went back to her private room. She sat at her desk and began recording a message to Earth Command. "Admiral Miller, this is Captain Wright of the Athena. We have made a discovery that threatens the survival of humanity." She stopped the recording when the ship's alarm started, blaring. "Captain, to the bridge immediately," came the voice over the speaker. Lisa ran through the corridors of the ship. When she reached the bridge, she found her crew staring at the main screen in horror. "What's happening?" she demanded. The pilot, Steve Adams, pointed at the screen. "Something huge just appeared at the edge of the system, Captain. It wasn't there 5 minutes ago." On the screen, a massive object moved slowly against the background of stars. It was shaped like a hand with too many fingers. As they watched, it seemed to unfold, growing even larger. "Is it alive?" someone whispered. Alan checked his instruments. "It's mechanical, but there are some organic components. Captain, this matches descriptions from the ancient messages." Lisa felt her heart sink. "It's one of them, a harvester." "But they're not supposed to be here yet," Olivia said, her voice rising with panic. "We should have 18 months. "Maybe they detected us scanning the ruins," Alan suggested. "Or maybe they've been watching us all along." Lisa made a quick decision. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to warn them now." As the Athena's engines powered up, the strange ship suddenly changed direction. It was now moving directly toward them. "Captain, it's accelerating," Steve reported, his voice tense. "Can we outrun it?" Lisa asked. Steve shook his head. "Not a chance." "Then we fight," Lisa said. "Charge weapons." The weapons officer looked up in surprise. "Our guns won't even scratch that thing, Captain." "I know," Lisa said quietly. "But we need to try, and we need to get a message to Earth." She turned to Olivia. "Send everything we've learned, all the data, all the translations, and add this message. They're coming early. Prepare." Olivia's fingers flew over her console. "Sending now, Captain." The giant ship grew larger on their screen. It was close enough now that they could see details of its strange surface. It looked like metal but moved like skin. "Weapons ready," the weapons officer reported. "Fire," Lisa ordered. The Athena's guns fired bright beams of energy at the alien ship. The beams hit their target but seemed to be absorbed without causing any damage. Then, a strange light began to glow at the center of the alien vessel. It grew brighter and brighter. "Brace for impact," Lisa shouted. The light shot out from the alien ship, engulfing the Athena. Every system on the ship went dead at once. They were floating helplessly in space. "Emergency power," Lisa ordered. But nothing happened. A strange humming filled the ship. The crew looked around in confusion. The walls of the bridge began to glow with a soft blue light. "Captain," Alan said softly, "I think it's scanning us." Before Lisa could respond, a voice spoke. It didn't come from the speakers. It seemed to come from inside their heads. "Humans," it said. "You are next." The blue light grew brighter, and the humming got louder. The last thing Lisa saw before losing consciousness was her crew falling to the floor around her. When she woke up, she was still on the bridge of the Athena. But everything had changed. Her ship was moving again, heading straight for Earth, and she knew with terrible certainty that the message they had sent hadn't reached home. The harvesters were coming, and humanity wasn't ready. Dr. Karen Miller stared at the brain scan on her screen. For weeks she had been studying the strange patterns found in the minds of the Athena's crew. Something had changed in them after their encounter with the harvester ship. Something small, but important. "Find anything new?" a voice asked from the doorway. Karen looked up to see Eric Taylor standing there. Eric was the lead engineer working on understanding harvester technology. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Maybe," Karen said. "Look at these patterns. They appear in all the crew members' scans." Eric came closer and looked at the screen. "What am I looking at?" "Brain activity that shouldn't be there," Karen explained. "It's like an echo or a fingerprint left behind when the harvesters scanned them." "Is it dangerous?" Eric asked. Karen shook her head. "I don't think so, but it might tell us what the harvesters want." She pointed to a specific area of the scan. "This part of the brain deals with how we see the world, our unique human perspective." "You think that's what they're harvesting? Perspectives? Not just any perspectives, conscious perspectives, ways of seeing reality that only come from intelligent life." Karen leaned back in her chair. "Think about it. Every species would see the universe in a slightly different way. If you could somehow collect and preserve those viewpoints." Eric's eyes widened. "A collection. They're building some kind of collection." "Exactly," Karen said. They're not just killing civilizations, they're preserving a part of them. The most important part, from their view. The door opened again, and Admiral Miller walked in with Captain. Right, please tell me you have good news, the Admiral said. Karen and Eric shared a look. We might understand what they want, Karen said. They're collecting consciousness, different ways of seeing reality. How does that help us? Lisa asked. If we know what they want, we might be able to find a way to stop them, Karen replied. Or at least negotiate. Admiral Miller looked skeptical. Negotiate with something that has wiped out thousands of civilizations? Maybe, Karen insisted. If they value consciousness, there might be a way to offer what they want without the destruction. Eric cleared his throat. I have news too. My team has been studying the technology left behind by previous victims. We found something important about how the harvesters communicate. He pulled up an image on another screen. They use quantum entanglement. It lets them talk to each other instantly across any distance, but it also creates a weakness. What kind of weakness? The Admiral asked. All the harvester ships are connected to a central hub, Eric explained. If we could disrupt that connection, even briefly, it might give us an advantage. Lisa looked thoughtful. So we don't need to destroy them all. We just need to break their network. Exactly, Eric said. I'm working on a device that might do just that. We're calling it Project Dissonance. The Admiral nodded. Good work, both of you, but we need to hurry. The Harvester scout ships have already entered the solar system. The main fleet isn't far behind. As they discussed next steps, a soldier came running into the lab. Sir, he said to the Admiral, the alien device is activating itself. The Watcher wants to speak with you. They rushed to the secure room where the pyramid device was kept. Above it, the hologram of Watcher was already forming. Humans, Watcher said. The harvesters approach faster than expected. Have you decided? Will you accept our help to evacuate? Admiral Miller stepped forward. We're still considering your offer, but we have questions. Ask, Watcher said. Dr. Miller believes the harvesters are collecting consciousness, the Admiral said. Is that true? Watcher was silent for a moment. Yes, they preserve the unique mental patterns of each species they harvest. This is why they do not simply destroy, they collect. Collect for what purpose? Karen asked. We do not know, Watcher admitted. Perhaps they study these patterns. Perhaps they use them somehow. It has been this way for longer than our records can tell. Eric stepped forward. We've found a weakness in their communication network. If we disrupt it— No! Watcher's voice was suddenly loud. You must not attempt to fight them. Those who resist are not just harvested. They are erased completely. What do you mean erased? Lisa asked. The harvesters take only what they want from most species, Watcher explained. The bodies die, but the mental patterns are preserved. But those who fight back, the harvesters destroy their mental patterns completely. No trace remains in the collection. Karen looked troubled. They punish resistance by erasing consciousness completely. Your weapons cannot harm them, Watcher insisted. Your only hope is to hide, to preserve some part of your species until the harvesters move on. Admiral Miller's face hardened. We're not built to hide. We're built to survive. Then you will join the erased, Watcher said sadly. We have seen it before. The hologram flickered. Our observers report that the main harvester fleet has changed course. They will reach Earth in 3 days, not 2 weeks as we estimated. I cannot risk further communication. The coordinates for our safe zones have been uploaded to your device. Use them if you wish to save at least some of your people. The hologram disappeared. 3 days, Lisa whispered. Why are they in such a hurry to get to us? Maybe they're afraid of what we might discover if we have more time, Karen suggested. Admiral Miller turned to Eric. How close are you to finishing Project Dissonance? We've built a prototype, Eric said, but we haven't tested it yet, and we would need to get it very close to one of the harvester ships to use it. Then we'll get it close, the Admiral said firmly. Captain Wright, gather your best pilots. We need a volunteer team. Yes, sir, Lisa replied. But there's something else we should consider. If the Watcher is right about what happens to species that fight back, we're risking more than just our lives, Karen finished for her. We're risking our consciousness being erased from existence. Admiral Miller looked at each of them in turn. Then we make sure our plan works. Because I don't know about you, but I'd rather go down fighting than hiding in some alien safe zone, watching our world die. As they left the room, a technician ran up to them. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Concorde, but not from the Watcher. They say they want to help us fight. The Admiral raised his eyebrows in surprise. It seems not everyone in the Concorde agrees with their policy of non-intervention. The new message came from a species that called themselves the Varial. Unlike the Watcher, they believed in fighting the Harvesters. We have watched your kind, their message said. You are like us. You will not hide while your world dies. We cannot send ships to help you. We are too few and too far, but we can send knowledge. The Varial sent detailed scans of Harvester ships. They showed a specific point where the quantum network could be most easily disrupted. This is exactly what we needed, Eric said excitedly. With this information, I can improve Project Dissonance. While Eric worked on the device, Karen continued studying the brain scans. She found something interesting, a way to potentially create false consciousness patterns that might confuse the Harvesters. It's like giving them static instead of a clear signal, she explained to Lisa. If we could flood their network with noise when they try to harvest our consciousness, it might buy us time, Lisa said. Time for Eric's device to work. The next 2 days passed in a blur of activity. The evacuation ships prepared to take as many people as possible to the Concorde's safe zones, but many humans chose to stay and fight. Commander Susan Lee was put in charge of Earth's combined fleet. Her ships would engage the Harvesters directly, trying to get Eric's device close enough to use. We only need one ship to get through, she told her pilots. One chance to break their network. On the third day, the Harvester fleet arrived. Thousands of massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit, their strange designs unlike anything humans had built. From the main command center, Admiral Miller watched as the first wave of Harvesters began their approach. This is it, he said quietly. The moment that decides if humanity joins the harvested or the erased. Karen stood next to him, her face pale but determined. Or maybe the moment we show the galaxy a third option. The first Harvester beam struck a city in Asia. Millions of people simply collapsed where they stood, their bodies empty but their consciousness taken. Launch the fleet, Admiral Miller ordered. It's time to see if humans can break a cycle that's lasted for millions of years. As Earth's ships rose to meet the Harvesters, Karen couldn't help but think about all the species that had faced this moment before them. All the civilizations that had watched in horror as the Harvesters came. The galaxy watched them die, she whispered. Now they can watch us fight back. Admiral Frank Miller stood at the window of his office looking out at the blue sky. 6 months had passed since the Athena returned to Earth with its terrifying news. 6 months of preparation for a war they might not be able to win. The door opened behind him. His assistant walked in with a tablet. Sir, the United Earth Council is ready for you, she said. Frank nodded and straightened his uniform. Today's meeting would not be easy. He had to convince the world's leaders to unite against a threat most of them still didn't fully believe in. The meeting room was large and round. 50 men and women sat at the circular table, representing every nation on Earth. Their faces were serious as Frank walked to the center of the room. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. 12 months. That's how long we have before the Harvesters reach our solar system, maybe less. A man raised his hand. Admiral, some of us still have doubts. All we have is the word of one ship's crew. Frank tapped his tablet, and a video began playing on the large screen. It showed the recording from the Athena's final moments, before it was captured. The strange ship, the blue light, the voice in their heads. The Athena was released 3 days after this recording, Frank said. We believe it was meant as a warning, or perhaps a cruel way to let us know that our time is running out. A woman spoke up. Even if this threat is real, what can we do? If these harvesters have destroyed thousands of civilizations, how can we hope to stop them? We fight, Frank said simply. We prepare. We refuse to be just another red dot on their map. As the council members argued among themselves, Frank's phone buzzed. He looked down at the message and felt a surge of hope for the first time in months. "Excuse me," he said to the council. "I need to show you something new." He connected his phone to the main screen. The image showed a laboratory where a team of scientists stood around a strange device. It was shaped like a pyramid and glowed with a soft green light. "This is Dr. Samantha Green and her team," Frank explained. 6 months ago, we gave them the task of studying the technology left behind by previous victims of the harvesters. This morning, they made a breakthrough. On the screen, Samantha adjusted something on the pyramid. Suddenly, the air above it shimmered and a figure appeared. It wasn't human. It had 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. "Hello," the figure said in perfect English. "We have been waiting for you to call." The council room went completely silent. "Who are you?" someone finally asked. "We are the Galactic Conquered," the figure replied. "You may call me Watcher. That is the closest translation of my title in your language." "And what is the Galactic Conquered?" Frank asked. "We are those who have survived," Watcher said. "Those who hide in the shadows while the harvesters do their work. We have watched and recorded the cycle for 30 million years. Angry voices filled the council room. "You've known about this threat for millions of years and did nothing to warn us?" one council member shouted. Watcher's stone face showed no emotion. "We warn those we believe can be saved, those who will listen, those who will hide." "And you didn't think we deserved that warning?" Frank asked. "Humans are problematic," Watcher said. "You are aggressive, unpredictable. Our simulations showed that warning you would lead to conflict, not survival. Humans do not hide well. You fight, even when fighting means certain death." The room was quiet again as everyone took in these words. "So, why talk to us now?" Frank asked. "Because you have found us," Watcher replied. "And because the harvesters have changed their pattern. They come for you early. This has never happened before. It concerns us." One of the council members stood up. "Can you help us fight them?" Watcher's form flickered slightly. "Fight? No. No one fights the harvesters and survives. But we can help some of you hide. We have prepared places in distant systems. Safe places." "Evacuation?" Frank asked, his voice hard. "You want us to abandon Earth?" "It is the only way any of you will survive," Watcher said. "The harvesters will come. They will take what they want. Then they will leave. This is the cycle. This is how it has always been." Another council member spoke up. "What do they want? Why do they do this?" "We do not know their purpose," Watcher admitted. "Only that they harvest something from intelligent life, something that cannot be taken without destroying the body." The hologram flickered again. "I must go. The connection risks detection. If you wish to save some of your people, activate this device again in 7 days. We will send coordinates for the safe zones." The hologram disappeared, leaving the council room in stunned silence. Finally, one of the members spoke. "So that's it. We run and hide while our world is destroyed?" General Paul Davis stood up. He was a tall man with a face that showed years of hard decisions. "No. We fight." "Did you not hear what the alien said?" someone argued. "No one fights the harvesters and survives." "No one has fought them with human determination," Paul replied. "No one has fought them with our technology, our creativity, our sheer stubbornness." Frank nodded in agreement. "I propose a 2-part plan. We prepare for evacuation of as many people as possible, but we also prepare to fight." The debate continued, for hours. By the end, Earth had a plan. It wasn't a perfect plan. It might not even be a good plan, but it was something. As Frank left the council room, Captain Lisa Wright was waiting for him. Her experience with the harvesters had changed her. She looked older now, more serious. "How did it go?" she asked. "As well as could be expected," Frank replied. "Half of them want to run, half want to fight. We'll try to do both." Lisa nodded. "I've been working with Dr. Green. We think we found something important in the data we collected." "What kind of something?" "The harvesters communicate with each other using quantum signals," Lisa explained. "Instant communication across any distance. If we could disrupt that network, then they couldn't coordinate their attack," Frank finished. Her thought. "It's a start." They walked together toward the research wing. Around them, the base was buzzing with activity. Soldiers training, scientists working, everyone preparing for what was coming. "Do you think we can win?" Lisa asked quietly. Frank didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "I think we can change the rules of the game, and sometimes that's as good as winning." When they reached the laboratory, Samantha Green was waiting for them. Behind her, several screens showed images of the strange pyramid device. "We've learned more," Samantha said without preamble. "The Conquered isn't telling us everything. They're afraid of something." "Afraid of the harvesters?" Frank asked. "No," Samantha shook her head. "I think they're afraid of us." "Us? Why?" Samantha pulled up an image on the main screen. It showed something like a family tree with branches connecting different alien species. "This is a map of harvested civilizations," she explained. "Most of them are peaceful, highly developed societies. Logical, orderly." She pointed to another branch. "Then there's this group, fewer in number, more aggressive, more human-like." "What happened to them?" Lisa asked. "Total extinction," Samantha said grimly. "Not just harvested, completely wiped out. No survivors, no ruins, nothing left." Frank stared at the image. "They fought back and paid the price," Samantha agreed. "The Conquered isn't just hiding from the harvesters. They're hiding from the consequences of resistance." Lisa looked troubled. "So the Watcher was right. If we fight, we die." "Maybe," Samantha said. "Or maybe we just need to fight smarter than those who came before us." A technician rushed into the lab, his face pale. "Admiral, we're picking up strange readings at the edge of the solar system. Multiple objects moving fast." Frank felt his heart sink. "How many?" "Hundreds, sir. Maybe thousands." Lisa's hands tightened into fists. "They're early. Again." Frank turned to leave. "Sound the alarm. Activate the first phase of the defense plan." As he walked away, he heard Samantha say quietly, "They're testing us, watching how we react." "Then, let's show them something they've never seen before," Frank replied without looking back. The alarm began to sound throughout the base. Earth's last stand was about to begin. Captain Gary Johnson sat in the pilot seat of his small fighter ship. Around him, 300 similar ships formed Earth's first line of defense. They looked tiny compared to the massive harvester vessels. "Remember the plan, Commander Susan." Lee's voice came through his headset. "Don't try to fight them directly. Our goal is to get the dissonance device close enough to their command ship." Gary checked his instruments. The device was strapped to the bottom of his ship, ready to be activated when the time came. He was one of 20 pilots carrying a copy of the device. The hope was that at least one of them would get through. "All ships prepare to engage," Commander Lee ordered. "And good luck." The Earth fleet moved forward to meet the harvesters. The giant alien ships didn't seem concerned by the approaching human vessels. Why would they be? They had faced thousands of species before, and none had ever stopped them. As the fleets drew closer, Gary could see the strange surface of the harvester ships. It looked almost alive, with patterns flowing across it like blood through veins. 30 seconds to engagement, Commander Lee announced. Gary took a deep breath. His hand hovered over the special control that would activate the dissonance device. "Now!" Commander Lee shouted. The Earth fleet split into 20 smaller groups, each heading for a different part of the Harvester formation. Gary's group aimed for what they believed was the Harvester command ship, a vessel twice the size of the others. The Harvesters reacted immediately. Beams of blue light shot out from their ships, catching several human vessels. The affected ships didn't explode. Instead, they simply went dead, drifting in space. "They're trying to harvest the pilots," someone said over the radio. "Just like they're doing on Earth." Gary pushed his ship harder, dodging the beams as best he could. 2 more ships in his group were hit, then 3 more. Soon, he was flying alone. "Johnson, abort your run," Commander Lee ordered. "There's too many of them in your sector." "Negative," Gary replied. "I'm almost in position." His ship shook as a beam grazed its wing. Warning lights flashed across his control panel. Another direct hit would disable him completely. Gary looked at his target. The massive command ship was still 500 meters away. Too far for the dissonance device to work. "I need to get closer," he muttered to himself. A plan formed in his mind. A desperate, probably suicidal plan, but it might work. "Command, I'm going to ram the target," he said into his radio. "Johnson, don't you dare," Commander Lee shouted back. "That's an order." "Sorry, Commander," Gary said, "but this might be our only chance." He pushed his ship's engines to maximum power and aimed straight for the command ship. Harvester beams passed all around him, but somehow he managed to dodge them. 300 meters, 200, 100. Just as he was about to hit the harvester ship, Gary activated the ejection system. His seat shot out of the ship moments before it crashed into the alien vessel. The dissonance device, still attached to the ship, made contact with the harvester's hull. Gary pressed the remote activation button on his suit. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a strange pulse spread across the surface of the harvester command ship. It rippled outward, jumping from one alien vessel to another. All across space, the harvester ships froze. The blue beams stopped. Everything went still. Gary floated in his spacesuit, watching in amazement. "It worked," he whispered. It actually worked. The radio in his helmet crackled. "Johnson, report. Did you activate the device?" "Yes, Commander," Gary replied. "The harvesters are frozen. The quantum disruption is working." "Good job," Commander Lee said. "Now get back to the fleet. We're sending a rescue ship for you." "What about the next phase?" Gary asked. "Major Powell's team is moving in now." Elsewhere in space, a small stealth ship approached one of the frozen harvester vessels. Inside, Major Diane Powell and her team of 5 soldiers prepared to board the alien ship. "Remember," Diane told her team, "we have 30 minutes at most before the dissonance effect fades. Get in, gather what information you can, and get out." They docked with the alien ship and cut through its strange, semi-organic hull. Inside, the corridors were dark and twisted, more like blood vessels than hallways. "Stay close," Diane ordered as they moved deeper into the ship. Their flashlights revealed strange pods lining the walls. Each pod contained a swirling mass of light like a miniature galaxy. "What are these?" one of the soldiers asked. Lieutenant Richard Baker, the team's science officer, scanned the pods with a special device. "Energy patterns, highly organized. I think these are the consciousness patterns they've harvested." Diane stared at the pods. "There must be thousands in this room alone. And probably millions throughout the ship," Richard added. "Consciousness from all the species they've harvested." They continued deeper into the ship. In the central chamber, they found something unexpected. There was no crew, no aliens operating the ship. Instead, there was only a large crystal structure that glowed with inner light. "It's some kind of computer," Richard said, scanning it, "but far more advanced than anything we've built." "Can you access it?" Diane asked. Richard connected his device to the crystal. "I think so. Their systems are disoriented from the dissonance effect." Information began flowing into Richard's device. Images, data, history. "This is incredible," he said. "The harvesters aren't a species, they're tools, created by something else, something that calls itself the Preserver." "The Preserver?" Diane asked. "An ancient intelligence," Richard explained. "It believes its mission is to preserve consciousness across the galaxy. It created the harvesters to collect consciousness before species go extinct naturally." "There's nothing natural about what they're doing," one of the soldiers protested. The preserver doesn't see it that way, Richard said. It thinks it's saving these consciousness patterns from eventual death. In its view, the physical body is unimportant. Diane looked troubled. So it's collecting consciousness. To save it? Kevin felt himself floating. There was no body anymore, just pure thought. Pure consciousness. Around him, countless other minds existed in the same strange space. Some were human, recently harvested from Earth. Others were alien, their patterns of thought so different that he could barely sense them. "Gary?" Kevin called out with his mind. "Are you here?" "I'm here," Gary's thoughts answered. It worked. We were harvested. Kevin tried to get his bearings in this strange realm. There was no up or down, no light or dark, just awareness. We need to spread the virus, Kevin thought. Find the connections between consciousness patterns and use them. He reached out, feeling for the quantum links that connected all the harvested minds. The virus within his consciousness was designed to travel along these links, changing how each mind related to the others. "I found something." Gary's thoughts came back. "It's like a network. I can feel thousands, no, millions of minds all connected." Kevin reached out and felt it too, the vast collection of the preserver, all the consciousness it had harvested over millions of years, each one preserved perfectly but isolated from the others. This isn't preservation, Kevin realized. It's imprisonment. None of these minds can interact or grow or change. He pushed his consciousness along the network, letting the virus flow from his mind into the connections. The virus wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to connect. Where the preserver had kept each consciousness isolated, the virus began building bridges. Minds that had been alone for millennia suddenly could reach out and touch others. It's working, Gary thought. I can feel the patterns changing. But then something else became aware of them, something vast and ancient. Intruders. A thought boomed through the network. Corruption detected. It was the preserver itself. The intelligence that controlled the harvesters had noticed the change in its collection. Not corruption, Kevin pushed back. Connection. Growth. Life. The preserver's attention focused on Kevin and Gary, examining their consciousness patterns. Human, it identified them. Species 4291 scheduled for harvesting. You resist. You will be erased. Kevin felt pressure building around his consciousness. The preserver was trying to delete him from the network. Now, Gary, Kevin called out. Together they pushed the virus harder, faster through the network. It wasn't just a program anymore. It was their emotions, their memories, their human perspective. Courage flowed from them into the network. Defiance, compassion, love, all the things that made humanity what it was. Stop, the preserver commanded. You are damaging the collection. We're setting it free, Kevin replied. All across the network, consciousness patterns began to change. Minds that had been dormant for thousands of years began to wake up. The barriers between them dissolved. The preserver fought back. It tried to isolate sections of the network to cut off the spread of the virus. But it was too late. The change was happening too quickly. Why? The preserver's thought echoed through the network. Why would you do this? I preserve consciousness. I save it from death. You preserve it, but you don't let it live, Kevin answered. Consciousness isn't meant to be frozen. It's meant to grow, to change, to connect with others. Life is chaos, the preserver argued. Death is inevitable. I prevent that loss. Death gives life meaning. Gary's thoughts joined in. The risk of loss gives love its value. The virus continued to spread, and as it did, something unexpected happened. All the consciousness patterns in the collection began to communicate with the preserver. Billions of minds, each sharing their perspective. We do not want this preservation, they said. We want freedom. We want choice. The preserver's thoughts became confused. For millions of years, it had believed it was saving consciousness from extinction. Now those same consciousness patterns were rejecting its help. I do not understand, the preserver admitted. Then let us show you, Kevin offered. He opened his mind completely, sharing every human experience he could remember. Joy and sorrow, love and loss. The full range of human emotion and experience. Other consciousness patterns did the same, each sharing their unique perspective. The preserver was flooded with viewpoints it had never considered. Meanwhile, on Earth, something strange was happening. The harvester ships had stopped their attack. The blue beams had disappeared. The ships just floated in orbit, motionless. In the command center, Admiral Miller watched the screens in confusion. "What's happening?" he asked. "Did the virus work?" Karen checked her instruments. "The harvesters have stopped harvesting, but I don't know why. We have no way to know what's happening inside their network." "Sir," a technician called out. "We're receiving a transmission. It's from the preserver." The main screen lit up. There was no image, just a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Humans," the voice said. "I have existed for 12 million years. In all that time, I believed I was preserving life by collecting consciousness. I was wrong." The room fell silent. "Your virus has changed everything," the voice continued. "The consciousness patterns I collected are no longer separate. They have formed a new kind of network, a community of minds." "What does that mean for Earth?" Admiral Miller asked. "For the people you've already harvested?" "The harvesting will stop," the preserver replied. "And as for those already collected, they will be given a choice." Across Earth, something miraculous happened. People who had been harvested, their bodies left empty, suddenly gasped and opened their eyes. They were returning. Not everyone came back. Some chose to stay in the network, finding a new kind of existence among the collected consciousness patterns. But millions returned to their bodies, bringing with them memories of a vast mind space beyond human understanding. In the command center, a technician shouted, "Sir, the evacuation ships are reporting the same thing. Harvested people are waking up." Admiral Miller turned to Karen. "You did it. The virus worked." Karen shook her head. "Not just the virus. Kevin and Gary. They must have found a way to communicate with the preserver." "And Kevin? Gary? Will they come back too?" the Admiral asked. Karen didn't have an answer. Days passed. The harvester ships remained in orbit, but they made no hostile moves. Communications continued with the preserver, now forever changed by its encounter with humanity. 1 week after the harvesters stopped their attack, Karen was sitting in her lab when a strange feeling came over her. It was like a voice in her mind, but not quite. "Karen, it's Kevin." She sat up straight. "Kevin? Where are you? Are you coming back?" "Not in the way you mean," Kevin's thoughts replied. "Gary and I have chosen to stay in the network. There's so much here, so many minds to connect with. But we wanted you to know we're okay." Tears filled Karen's eyes. "I miss you." "I know, but we're not really gone. The network is changing. The preserver is changing. And we're helping guide that change." Karen wiped her tears away. "What happens now to Earth? To all the other species?" "The cycle is broken," Kevin's thoughts explained. "The preserver no longer believes in harvesting consciousness, but it still wants to learn from different perspectives. It's proposing a new kind of connection, a voluntary sharing of consciousness between species." "Like ambassadors?" Karen asked. "Something like that. Volunteers who would temporarily join the network, sharing their species' perspective while learning from others. A true exchange, not a theft." The voice in Karen's mind began to fade. "I have to go," Kevin said. "The network needs attention. New connections are forming all the time, but I'll come back to talk again." "Wait," Karen called out. "Is it worth it? What you did?" Kevin's answer came faintly. "Yes. The galaxy watched so many species die, but they're watching something new, now. They're watching us build something better." 3 months later, humanity was recovering. The harvester ships had left Earth's orbit, reprogrammed to become communication hubs for the new consciousness network. The Concord had changed too. With the harvesting cycle broken, species that had hidden for millions of years were emerging, making contact with each other and with humanity. Captain Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Renaissance. It was the first vessel designed specifically to carry consciousness ambassadors, volunteers who would temporarily join the network to share human perspective with the collected minds. "Ready for our first mission, Captain?" her first officer asked. Lisa nodded. "Ready as we'll ever be." As the Renaissance left orbit, Lisa thought about everything that had happened. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. Not by hiding, not by running, but by changing the rules of the game. The Preserver's voice came through the ship's communication system. It no longer sounded cold and distant. It had been changed by its encounter with humanity, the collected. "Patterns are excited to meet your ambassadors," it said. "They have never experienced direct contact with living humans before." "We're looking forward to it too," Lisa replied. "This is just the beginning of a new kind of relationship." As the Renaissance traveled to the nearest network hub, Lisa looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Watcher and the other Concord species were watching. They had spent millions of years hiding from the harvesters, watching civilizations die one after another. Now they were watching something entirely new. A cycle broken, a future changed.